Well, hello there. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you may be, and maybe I can make it a little better by sharing with you some of the games that I've been kind of keeping tabs on. This first game here is a game by Tactical Adventure Studios, and it goes by Selasa, Crown of the Magister. This is a game that was just recently announced. They haven't even put up their Kickstarter yet. They do plan on doing a Kickstarter for it, and there's going to be more information released about it then. But they do have a nice little teasers on their main website, and they have some basic info about the game and a little bit of info about the character customization. You also find that this is going to be a turn-based game with an emphasis on interesting, interactable environments. They talk about being able to push over columns onto your foes, or using height to your advantage to ambush your enemies. It definitely seems like they're trying to bring a tabletop experience into a 3D world, and I think this sounds interesting. It's definitely something I'm going to be paying attention to. They're going to be using the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set. There's an open gaming license for people to create games with that rule set, and they're able to license some things, I guess, from Wizards of the Coast for free. I'm definitely not a lawyer or anything, but I think all that really means is that there's some things from the D&D handbook that they can use, and they won't be sued for it. And they apparently were at Gen Con this past week with a playable demo. And a lot of the people from the tabletop community were able to check it out. And when they launch their Kickstarter, they're also going to have this pre-alpha demo available for everyone to play. So I'll probably have some videos on the channel of that. If I like it and decide it's any good, I'll be sure to be showing you guys and giving you my thoughts about it. I also gotta say, I do really like how this game looks too. It's nice to have, an RPG that looks really good. I think a big part of feeling powerful or just feeling like a badass is looking like a badass too. It helps out a lot. And I like what they're showing so far with the design and the heavy focus on building these interesting 3D environments for you to interact with. It looks promising. Hopefully they can deliver. And up next we have the studio In Exile's upcoming project, Wasteland III. They had a short little trailer showcased at E3 this year, and they have a target release of spring 2020. There is a FIG campaign associated with the game that's raised over $3 million, with close to 18,000 backers. And if you were looking to get in on this action, it's looking like it's a little bit too late. But this is another role-playing game. As you can see in the background, it's very similar to Fallout. I remember playing the second Wasteland, and it was a really good game, but I remember the combat just being really kind of boring and bland, but everything else besides that, the world was great, the setting was amazing. All the skills and abilities you had, they were really useful, and they created really dynamic ways of solving problems. And it felt everything about the game felt really good, besides the combat, which was just mostly moving and shooting. And for a turn-based combat game like that, it gets pretty old pretty quick. So I never actually ended up finishing the game, but I'm keeping my eye on this one because a lot of the things I did see in the second game were really impressive, and if they were able to liven up the combat, this would be an amazing game and something that I wouldn't really want to miss out on. And Wasteland 3 is apparently going to have some type of multiplayer where you can play through the story with a friend, which is great. I mean, everything's always better with a friend, am I right? And I think it's really one of the big reasons Divinity did so well. Outside of it just the core experience of the game being solid and amazing and just incredible in its own right, it had the multiplayer on top of it that just kind of pushed it even further over the top than what it was. So if you've been looking for a new RPG to run through with a friend, this might be just what you were looking for. Now let's jump into the realm of speculation a little bit, and because I want to talk about Owlcat Studios' next game, which is currently unannounced. I mean, based on the success of Pathfinder Kingmaker, it's probably more than likely going to be another game set in the Pathfinder universe, probably based off another one of Paizo's Adventure Paths. You know, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think Pathfinder Kingmaker was received pretty well. On launch, it was, it was kind of a mess, but they cleaned it up real nice, and it's a very solid game now. One of the best games I've played in a long time, to be honest. And there is some information out there floating around on the internet to suggest that Owlcat is, at least in the beginning stages of development on another game. According to a forum post on the official forums, Tabletop Tuesdays have resumed at Owlcat Studios, and they are playing a new adventure path. Nobody really knows what it is, and it's just a lot of people in this thread speculating on what it could be, but there's really no solid proof to be sure of anything. And they also apparently are hard at work on a console port for Pathfinder that's supposed to be releasing in December of this year. So I would imagine that that's keeping a few people at the studio pretty busy, because I doubt it's just as simple as copying and pasting a bunch of code on over to a PS4. And according to the forum thread, it's pretty likely that we're going to be seeing like another Kickstarter for the game. And I imagine that we won't really get much more information about the game until then. And do remember, like, everything I've said up until this point about the game is just pure speculation. But as Catharsis, a member of the Owlcat dev team, puts it, I can tell you that Owlcat is doing well, and when a game company is doing well, they are making new games. So expect to see something from Owlcat in the future. And last, but certainly not least, we have Baldurs Gate 3. And I'm sure this is on everybody's radar, not just mine, as it's probably one of the most anticipated games, like, of all time. This is really a huge one, and I'm super excited that it's hopefully going to be here soon. If you've seen the announcements for the game at like E3 or seen any of the interviews that Sven and Mike Merles have done, you're pretty much caught up on all the information about the game. But the Descent into Avernus D&D adventure is going to be coming out in a little over a month. And I would imagine that they would kind of drop some Baldurs Gate 3 info around this time, to kind of promote the Baldur's Gate adventure that Wizards of the Coast is going to be putting out. That just seemed like a really obvious, like, PR move to do to kind of just get people talking about D&D as much as possible. So hopefully there will be some new info about Baldur's Gate 3 here pretty soon. And if they don't release any more info about the game itself, Descent into Avernus is supposed to have like a lot of information about Baldur's Gate, like the town, and it's supposed to kind of like bridge the timeline between Baldur's Gate 2 and like now and like what's going on in the world, and kind of like set Baldur's Gate up for like what's going to be happening in the actual video game. So in about a month's time, I imagine there's going to be a lot of talk about Baldur's Gate, and it's going to be awesome. And if you're excited about any of these games as much as I am, be sure to subscribe, because I plan on making content about every single one of them. And if you would like to go that extra mile, I do also have a Patreon account, and every dollar that I make off of this YouTube channel goes straight back into it and improving it, and anything big or small is a huge help. Thank you for watching the video though. I wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors, and I hope to see you again soon.